Patience, what's going on?
What's going on?
Hey, man, how you been?
I've been good. Long time.
Long time no see, man.
I know, a
I know
lot.
since our last interview,
Yeah.
about 2 years ago.
A lot's happened since
Yeah,
then.
yeah. So talk to me about that, man. Like, I see that you're a city councilor now, a youth city councilor now. Congrats.
Yeah, thank
Tell me about
you.
that.
That was really exciting. I mean, the last time I had an interview with you, I know I was running for Toronto City Council.
Yeah.
I was actually the youngest candidate. It was a really interesting election until Doug Ford came in.
Right.
Doug Ford came in and he's like, listen, guys, I don't care who's running. I don't care about how many words you guys have right now. We're cutting it in half. And that really affected the election.
Instead of 47 counselors, there'll be 25 counselors.
A lot of people dropped out of their nomination, and they said they're not continuing because you had to sign like a new nomination form if you want to be in it. It went down to 25. You know what I mean? So it was really crazy. It really gave what is it called? The current counselors who were running for re-election a head start, compared to like freshies like myself and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's been really cool since then. I mean, City Council, they're very familiar with me. I know they trust my leadership. A lot of the youth in the city of Toronto trust my leadership.
Yeah.
I think they believe that like when it comes to amplifying their voices, I'm one of the top people in the city who are doing that for them. So it was really excited to be elected into the Toronto City Youth Council, representing youth in my riding, but obviously just like all over, in my opinion.
That's dope, man. So how does that happen? Like, they disappointed you? You're like, I want to volunteer for this, or kind of just they pick youth leaders in the city that are doing things for the community?
Well, I mean, there's you basically run, right? In my case, it was a little bit different though, because I have been on the youth council before, right? I didn't think I was going to be reelected, but I had everyone from the team, the executive directors, everyone kind of reach out to me. Even Tory himself, John Tory, the mayor, was like, you know what, like, you're really amazing for this, you know what I mean? And I went to the meeting one day and I got, like, of course, my little pin, my badge. I got a letter, official letter from the city of Toronto, just acknowledging my role. And pretty much I was just plugged in there. Like, for me, whether I'm on the city youth council or I'm not on the city youth council, I just feel like, we need better representation, right? I've said this before, there's not enough diverse representation in City Hall. So for me, it wasn't more about, it wasn't really like a job, you know what I mean? It was really a task that I felt like, hey, if the shoe fits, I'm going to wear it. And that's exactly what I did. Yeah,
because even on your social media, your IG, I see you talking to like City Council about different initiatives. Like, what are some of the initiatives that you're tackling now?
Gun violence. I think that the city of Toronto and city councilors have a wrong idea about gun violence. Funny enough, at a recent meeting at the Board of Health, there were a lot of people who came out and were talking about, like a lot of ways to combat gun violence. We had Director X in the building, and he was, representing his organization, and he was talking about the mental health issues that come with gun violence and stuff like that. And I felt like, even though the city councilors were listening on the committee, they were listening, I felt like there was still a little bit of cluelessness in there. So I did something very funny. I literally went in front and I'm like, listen, guys, I'm gonna rap. I told them, I said, I've never done this before. I've never rapped in City Hall in a committee meeting, but counselors, I'm gonna do it today. You know what I mean? And I did it. And I quoted Drake, where he said, kids who lose their lives got me scared of losing mine. And if I hold my tongue about it, I get crucified. Start off by quoting an artist in Toronto, Drake specifically. I don't know if I don't really want to rap, but I'm just gonna, it sounds better, okay? He said, kids who lose their lives got me scared of losing mine. And if I hold my tongue about it, I get crucified. I don't know about everyone else in this room, but when I listen to that specific lyric, I find it so relatable. And I told him, I said, if you can't relate to those lyrics, it says a lot. And it's so funny because after the meeting, I'm not going to mention names, but I had 2 elected officials come up to me and say, you know what, you're right, we can't relate. And that to me was just another reminder of like the problem we have in our city from both angles, from the youth who are, committing these, crimes. Let's just be realistic, you know what I mean? Who are committing these crimes, to our counselors, to our our policing system. It's a whole mix up. So for me in City Hall, I think when it comes to gun violence, I'm trying to make them understand that, first of all, it's just going to take more than putting police on the streets in schools. That's BS to me. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? If I wanted to injure somebody, I'm going to use the word injure. If I wanted to injure someone and I'm mad and I'm crazy, there is nothing and nobody that's going to stop me from doing that. Nobody. Do you get what I mean? Not even the police. Maybe I'll suffer the consequences after with the police, but they're not going to stop me from doing it. No. You know what I mean? So I just feel like at the end of the day, one misconception they have is that, you know, police will solve 100% everything. No, their job is to serve and protect, right? Not just to protect, to serve. So a big part of serving the people is understanding communities, you know what I mean? Working with the city partners and other stakeholders in the city and making sure that our city is a safe place. And that leaves a lot of pressure and attention on Toronto City Council. What does that mean? We need to stop coming up to city council, city councilors, right? They need to stop coming up to city council meetings and thinking that maybe banning guns is going to do something. Or like I said, putting officers in the street. That's nonsense. I think we have a huge way to go when it comes to gun violence, you know? I think that there's so much I could say about it, right? Yeah. But there's a lot that city council has to do. And I think I put a lot of pressure on them because I want to see them invest in communities. I want to see them impact minds. I want to see them influence minds. I think there's a whole new generation that is growing up to see what their brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, family, whatever members are doing. And they're thinking it's cool. I think that once you distract them and once you give them a different perspective on life, they could care less about the politics that many of the older heads are doing because, you know, I was once there. I wouldn't say with gun violence, but I was once there. I remember in high school, I was a totally different person.
For real.
I'll be honest. And I tell the story and I tell it with so much, I say it with so much pride because I was such a different person. I was a bully. Like, I was a bully. Like, you could not mess with me. Nope, you could not do it. Not at all. I wouldn't allow it. And everyone still loved me, but they knew patience. Don't do that.
Patience
you know
had
what I
no
mean?
patience.
No. You know what I mean? I have some people who I bump into recently at the Apple store. It was so embarrassing. I was with my baby sister. Girl I went to high school with. Yeah. She works there. She says to me, "Oh my God, Patience, I remember you. Where'd you go?" She's telling my sister, "Oh, your sister, no one can mess with her. What? No one can this." I was looking at her like, "Oh my God, guys, times have changed." You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like, my point is, you know, there's a mentality that we have in Toronto, and I think that we need to break that type of mentality, and I think that we need to open people's eyes and show that there's more than life. So I bring that in front of city council, as well as housing issues and many things that just really build or break a community.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted like issue, right? Like you're saying, it's like guns and violence, and then there's also housing, then social economic impact of that too, right?
Yeah.
So like, and music is obviously a big part of the city now, right? Like there's a lot of artists out here that are doing big things, but it's also, you know, it's tied into the street, you know, politics and stuff. And then we're seeing that spill over to the entertainment side of things too, right? Like artists are losing their lives at a high and alarming rate. What can be done about that? Like, how can we tackle that side of the issue?
Honestly, I just feel like, you know, we have to be realistic. I used to be someone who used to like listening to such music where they're talking about doing this and doing that. You know, I didn't have a problem with it. I had my favorite artists who, you know, I like their lyrics. I thought they had bars. But, you know, now that I'm getting older and I'm really trying to tackle issues in the city, I realize that it's not helping situations. I feel like at the end of the day, I think that when it comes to artists, I think they need to stretch their creativity. I think that they're all basic. You know, before my opinion would have been different, but I think artists today are all basic. If you think that you will go, I don't care about artists in the USA. If you think you're gonna go super, super far, bragging about killing people, blasting someone's face, doing this, setting this person up, you're wrong. I think you may have opportunities, you may whatever, people feed into certain music, you may make money, but I don't think you're a hero, I don't think you're a leader, and I don't think you're legendary. I don't think that history will write a good in history, they'll have a good word for you. I think that artists need to now start thinking of different ways to express themselves with their lyrics. I think they need to watch the type of, I know they have obviously the demographic that they're speaking to, but I feel like they need to just do more. You know what I mean? I think once we have different type of lyrics, you know what I mean? People's minds, right? How they think, it changes, right? Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but there are actually some artists where it's like, you know, low key what they're talking about, but they're not really outright saying it. And to be very honest, as crazy as it sounds, I think it's better that way than to really just be taught bragging about, I'm gonna put this in and like, shut up, excuse my language. You sound like shit. You know what I mean? It's not cute. I would not date a guy who talks and sings about, whatever. I would never date a guy like that. You know what I mean? I would never even talk to a man like that, because it's like, what are you singing? You know what I mean? It's like, when you get older, are you really going to be able to play this for your children when they're toddler, when they're this, and be like, bump this, And if you do, and you think that's okay, I don't know. I think people have a problem. I think that people just need to step up when it comes to their creativity. I think that's also a reason why a lot of people are not moving forward in the music industry here in the city of Toronto, because they're all on the same ish. And I think that once they release a new track, fire bars, fire. No, you guys, same shit. Yeah. Same shit, different person.
Yeah, there's a lot of beef talks and politic talks in the songs as well, right? But like, how can we use the music to actually, like, improve the communities though? Because like, obviously music is a big part of the city, right? And entertainment. And I also saw, like, on a post on your IG, you're talking about, like, the creative arts and cultural things coming together to kind of create that safe space for youth in the city. So how can we, like, go about creating that?
I think that, like I said, it all goes back to, like, what you say and how you impact people's minds. You know what I mean? Yeah. Influence their minds. At the end of the day, this is how I look at things. The city of Toronto, actually, let me start by saying this. The city of Toronto, they are trying to invest in what they call, quote unquote, Toronto's nightlife right now, which is entertainment sector, just the industry, right? They're trying to work with stakeholders to create Toronto a more bigger hub for entertainment. I don't feel like the current artists will be able to place themselves in that circle with the city, with the opportunities that the city is planning to give because of the music. I feel like it would even be better for them if they were to use their aggression and their passion towards opposing things that are real issues in our city. I feel like, as hard as it would be for city officials to kind of still listen to that type of music, because a lot more times it'd be opposing them decisions, different things are happening in the city. It's still kind of like speaking the truth. You know what I mean? So it's just changing the dynamics of what they're saying. You know what I mean? That alone, that'll create a place for people to think, create a place for people to imagine, to grow. You know what I mean? As a community, because that way they're putting pressure on communities. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're putting pressure on their brothers and sisters, their family, their friends in a community. They're putting pressure on the city. Right? I think that's one way to kind of just change the dynamics.
But how do we go about getting that change though? Like, shifting that mind state from talking about, running up on somebody and doing something to somebody, to actually focusing on the community and focusing on, family, and focusing on, like, the core of building strong communities within the city.
I think that people need to take a step back from the politics. Not everyone will, but people need to take a step back from the politics and question themselves and ask themselves, like, do they really like the standard of living for themselves, for their mother? When it gets to themselves, they're all about the politics. They don't care. When you talk about their family, you see a gangster get all sensitive and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Talk about their mom, their sister, they get all sensitive. Maybe. I think it's a thing of self-reflection. I don't think that you can, what's that saying? You can bring a horse to the river, but you can't force it to drink water. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, I just feel like they need to actually just reflect. Like, think about your life. Think about your life seriously. Think about how you grew up. You know what I mean? Sometimes it'll take people having children around them, or creating their own families, for people to realize this. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, my advice to a lot of these artists and a lot of people who are shaping the music industry in Toronto is to just take a look at yourself, take a look at the standard of living, and once they do that, you don't have to say too much. They know exactly how it is. They know it's not suitable. They know more times that's what's dragging them into the politics, because the environments they grew in, because of how the politics in that environment is. So I think it's a matter of self-reflection. I think that a lot of homegirls in the city of Toronto, they don't do that. Everyone has this big shell, right, around them, has a big bubble, playing tough, right? And I feel like, realistically speaking, it needs to be broken.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I totally agree with that, man. Like, I feel like, Toronto would be such at a further place if we kind of just came together and created and partnered with, with the city, and partnered with different partners.
I agree.
Could, help us move the culture forward in a positive light.
I agree, because there's a lot of things that the city of Toronto is doing at this point. Like, I suggested to city council, I said, hey, like, why don't we, speaking about nightlife, like, let's work on, creating more industry nights for Toronto artists, getting more spaces for them to kind of just like express their talent and putting them in the center of the world where people can actually hear Toronto artists. Because not a lot of these people have spaces for these, you know what I'm trying to say? But I feel like before we can even do that, like I said, people have to self-reflect. I think there's a lot of passion, and I'm not like, I feel like at the end of the day too, there's a lot of passion in what they're saying, a lot of aggression, but I feel like that we just need to channel it in the right way. I was able to channel it, I was a very tough person. I still am a tough person. I just don't, I'm not into the mix. I'm too old for certain stuff. I put my passion and my aggression into what matters to me, which is, the standard of living for people all over the world. You know what I mean? I look at how I feel God has placed us on this earth. You know what I mean? I think we're so blessed. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I just look for ways to improve that. So now when I'm upset, I'm not upset at nobody else. I'm not looking, I don't catch feelings over nonsense. You get what I mean? If anything, I'm upset at leaders because I feel like they have so much power. I know what it means when they sit, I've sat down where they're passing motions that are about billions of dollars. And I'm like, whoa. I can't believe that billion just went past my eye like this. And it was invested in this dumb nonsense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Real life things. Do you get what I mean? Put your passion and your aggression into something good, and you'll see how far it'll take you. Yeah.
Do you think that we need more leaders like yourself that are going into like city politics and business, and
I think,
do we need black leaders and people of color to kind of step forward and take those roles to kind of lead that new generation?
I think it's very important, but I don't think the city is ready. I don't think even the youth are ready for leaders like me. I had to break stereotypes, and I'm still breaking stereotypes. I know what it feels like to have someone tell you, listen, you got to decide whether you want to be a Barbie doll, a diva, or you want to be a politician. You have to act a certain way. You have to talk a certain way. You have to hang out with certain people. You have to dress a certain way. And I am diverse. I'm like the biggest diva I know. You know what I mean? And I embrace my style. I don't look like your regular, forget the color of my skin, right? Or my gender. You know what I mean? I dress up like someone who is my age. You know what I mean? I don't conceal it because I want to be, because I'm amongst people who are 10 times older than me. I am who I am. And I don't think that the city is as important as it is, and as important that we have those leaders. I don't think that they're ready for that because they're so distracted. They don't see the good in stuff like that. It's more easier for people in the city to kind of like take a look at me or anyone else that's like me and find what's wrong with me. Oh, girl, like 6+ posted one of my committee videos, and in the comment section, I had a lot of people hailing me up, and I had a lot of people who were telling me, listen, this girl, your foundation is not matching your neck. I was like, what? I'm like, first of all, City Hall, note this, it's not my makeup. It is City Hall's lighting. I've always said that. The lighting in there is terrible. And second of all, is that what you're really looking at? What about the message?
Exactly.
What about the message? Our minds are just not in the right place. So as much as I feel like it's very important that we have leaders like me, the city's not ready for it. And it's sad because the city will not go forward until there are leaders like me. The city will not go forward until there are politicians that look like me, sound like me, and are as brave as me to challenge the status quo, to challenge the leaders that we have today. Representation is a big deal. If there aren't people who are representing us, people who look like us, people who think like us, people from certain communities, then I'm telling you, those communities will not be well funded, will not be well taken care of, will not be well thought of in City Hall, for a fact. So it's very important. I just hope the city of Toronto gets kind of used to it.
Yeah, I think it's very important too. Even for media stuff too, like even for like platforms like myself, and people are doing interviews. Like I had like Debbie on on the interview, and a lot of people are like, yeah, why are you promoting this and why are you doing this? But for me, it's kind of like, give a platform for people to speak, right? But then when I think about it too, it's just like, you're right. We kind of have to, present what we want the culture to be like, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of that, what is the culture? What is it going to look like in a couple of years? Like, what does Toronto look like? Like, what's your vision of Toronto, and what does it look like?
I have two visions. I have the vision I want, and I have the vision that Toronto is headed towards, which is not necessarily what I want.
Okay. And
the vision that I have for Toronto is seeing more people. You don't have to be into politics. You don't have to go into City Hall. You don't have to go into Parliament. If I see Toronto communities coming together, artists coming together, people, stakeholders coming together for the better in Toronto, investing in Toronto's what Toronto would call at-risk communities, and certain people, I feel like we would be on the right path. We'd be able to, first of all, identify issues that a lot of individuals have, right? and then that's one step to fixing it. I just feel like at this current moment, we're not even able to kind of relate, like our government's not even ready to relate to certain people, talk about, to be able to kind of identify an issue to solve it. So I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, if I could have my way, you know, the city of Toronto would be a city where there would be more collaboration. The city of Toronto would be bigger than, you know, what it is at this very moment. Do you get what I mean? We would have more international, what's the word I'm looking for? More of like an international look. Do you get what I mean? A lot of people, recognition. Sorry, thank you. Recognition, where it's like people from all over want to be in Toronto. They feel like they need to leave their cities to come into Toronto because Toronto's a place.
Yeah, certain sectors we're doing well in, like technology. Like we're like a big technology hub, right? Per se, even like movies and entertainment. Like we've always been like Hollywood North per se, right? Like us in Vancouver. A lot of movies are shot in Toronto too, but I guess, like, you know, like for us, for our conversation, I guess it's more about the music side of things, right? And like kind of like the hip hop scene in Toronto, and like how can we, like we touched on it before, but I feel like how can we really like shift it? What would that look like if, like, you know, given the positives that you're talking about, where like leaders are coming out and guiding the communities? Like where would that, what would it look like, having the leaders, having the music in the right space, like having entertainment in the right space? Like
I think we'd have more popular artists than Drake. Than Drake and the certain artists that we have that are big and recognized internationally. I think that there's so much talent in the city of Toronto. I can't emphasize on it enough. Like there's so much talent in the city of Toronto, and I felt like if we had that collaboration, you know, in every part, right? A lot of Toronto musicians would go very far. You know what I mean? Our music would be number one on the charts. Do you get what I mean? It would go farther than, I think, even further than Drake has gone, to tell you the truth, because there are a lot of artists, you know what I mean? Creative artists that have different sounds. But like I said, I just don't know if artists are ready for it. Like a lot of artists say they are ready for it, but like their music kind of just shows that they're not. You know, a lot of them, they put in their best, but is their best really enough? And it's not like I'm trying to discredit them, right? But I'm talking about content wise, right? But let's not focus on the artists that are not doing the greatest. Let's focus on the artists who are actually doing amazing, because I know some amazing artists who are really talented, who put in a lot of work in their music, who express themselves, who have amazing lyrics. And I just feel like future for people like that, goodness, international. International. I think that we've done really great in other industries, but we can be 100% more international when it comes to our music. We can be more exposed. You know what I mean? We can really be the hub for entertainment. You know what I mean? I don't want no second place hub. I'm patriotic. You know what I mean? I'm patriotic. I want us to be known for. I want it to be a competition, not no second, whatever. What did you say?
Hollywood North.
Hollywood North. What is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
Hollywood
no,
North. We're Hollywood North.
No Hollywood North. I want us to be number one. I don't believe in that. Like I want us to be number one. And yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being number one, like I don't know if it's more negative, but speaking of being number one, Toronto, the housing market in Toronto is like insane. Like we were getting up there, like probably like the third or fourth market in Toronto. I mean, in North America in terms of housing prices. Like, what are your thoughts on that? How can we tackle that? And you know, because right now the housing is crazy. Like, you know, I work and like I'm thinking of buying a house. I'm like, I can't even have that in my mind, like being a homeowner in the city.
I've had this conversation many times before. It is, I think, for a young person in the city of Toronto, trying to kind of like put your life together and say, hey, I'm going to picture buying a house in like 5 years. It's very hard. Yeah. You know, you can save, but how much are you really going to make? Yeah. And I think that's where I think there's a lot that we have to, like, stakeholders in the city have to do to kind of fix that. But I feel like when it comes to creating a solution within ourselves, I think that we need to step out of our comfort zones. I think that we need to make money, you know? Yeah. There are people who are entrepreneurs and they don't even know it yet. Yeah. You know, they're still working, paying, you know, what is it called? Someone's still paying for their time. You know what I mean? There are a lot of entrepreneurs. There are a lot of people who have lots of talents, but we need to create those spaces for people to flourish in their talents. And once you do that, you know, there's a little bit of more income. Do you get what I mean? You also need to make a plan, right? You need to make a plan. A lot of us feel like, we want a house in 5 years. We just look at the amount, we're like, we can't afford that. But none of us are realistically planning or saving up for anything like that. You know what I mean? Canada is a huge place. Canada is the second largest country in the entire world, in the whole globe. Huge. That's crazy. You can't tell me that in Canada, it's unrealistic to buy a house. Maybe in the city of Toronto, yes.
Or in the city of Toronto,
in the city of Toronto, yes. But no doubt about that. But, I think we have to think big, and I think we need to really get out of our comfort zones. I think that's what life is all about. When I went to Africa, first time I went to Africa, it changed my perspective on life forever. You know what I mean? Forever. I just had, what is it called? I just had a different perspective on a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Like where I wanted my money to go, what I wanted to do with my money, how I want to invest here and back home. You know what I mean? People need to be smart. People need to be able to also, it's okay if you're working a regular job, but you also have to do this thing where they call it a reverse lottery ticket. You know what I mean? It's kind of like home insurance. Yeah. Right? Car insurance. When something happens to your car, you have it. You need to create a savings. You need to practice financial literacy. You know what I'm trying to say? Get your life together. You know what I mean? Know where you're putting your money. Invest. You know what I mean? What do you invest in? Think of things that you think that you can make money from. You know what I mean? And save, realistically speaking, and plan your life around that. I don't think that we should be discouraged from the fact that there's housing is expensive. I think that, once you're an adult, you realize life is hard for many people all over the world in different countries. There are people who live on 10 cents a day, talk about trying to figure out how they're going to save millions of dollars for a comfortable home. You know what I mean? I think people need to save. I think people need to really save and just think of ways on how they can kind of just increase their cash flow and think of ways to put their money elsewhere. Toronto is not the beginning and the end. Do you get what I mean? While stakeholders, city officials, people, the housing markets and everything work on the city of Toronto, work on yourself. Because if you are just riding the wave with what the city is giving you, to be honest, you'll be stuck. You know what I mean? You'll drown. You got to be smart. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did.
It's a complicated topic.
No, it is.
I don't like
super complicated.
I don't like emphasizing on I don't like to complain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to find solutions.
I find solutions. I'm all about finding realistic solutions. You know what I mean? And how we can move forward.
Yeah. And that's going back to what we were talking about before, and changing the mindset of people, right? And kind of finding those avenues to make money. For me too, even entertainment's a major thing for me too. It's that's what I'm really focused on asking people about how can we change people's minds and how what will Toronto look like always look into the future to kind of be that's have that opportunity to actually grow into the city that I know we can be. That's kind of my thing when I'm interviewing people. I always ask them, what
are your plans? What are you I keep on saying the word passion, right? What are you passionate about? What are your plans? For me, as much as I love Toronto, as much as I'm patriotic to Canada and the city, one thing I have a problem with in the city is how Torontonians, their minds work. I feel like we're stuck in a bubble. Yeah. We don't think that there's more to life. There's so much more to life. When you travel, when you meet different people, you realize that this city is only offering you a little bit. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. And at the end of the day, no matter how much I want to work on the city, I want to look out for the people who live in the city, who are from the city, who are raised in the city, who have a certain mindset. And I feel like the first way to tackle that is by digging into their brains and letting them know that there's so much more to life. You know what I mean? If you were, for example, if you were born in a box and you stay in a box, you're 10, 12, 13, 21, 52, you're literally going to feel like the box is the only thing you have in this world. Little did you know, you know what I mean? There's a whole world. There's even bigger box that you can be in with even bigger opportunities. You know what I'm trying to say? So for me, it's just about Torontonians, we just need to stop being distracted and think about other things that we can be doing. You know what I mean? And trust me, Canada's a beautiful country. No matter how hard it is, there are people who die, who are risking their lives, who are doing the most to come into this country. And I feel like the people who are raised in this country or who are fortunate to live in this country, I think they take advantage of it. I think they're not as grateful, and they find it hard to see opportunities.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
And even having a Canadian passport, I mean, you go anywhere in the world, right?
I have a friend who's an international student, and my friend always tells me that. My friend looks at my Canadian passport, and my friend's like, "Are you crazy? You can go anywhere you want. What are you doing? Apply for no visas. You just go. You just buy a ticket. He's like, you're not even being smart right now. What are you doing? Do this, do that, do that." And that changed my perspective too. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. You know what I mean? I can do anything, right? So there's so much. I think we just need to get out of that box. Torontonians are so blessed. You know what I mean? We are. I mean, our government can do better, but it does support us for the most part. You know what I mean? Compared to other countries. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just feel like we just need to be smart and plan our lives. The youth needs to think and sit down and think about their lives. Yeah. There's a lot. You know what I mean? There's more to just going to school, graduating, and finding a mediocre job. Yeah. There's more than that. There's way more than that in the city. You know what I mean? And more times you don't even have to go to school.
No, you don't, especially now in today's economy. I mean, you just got to know the skills. It's more about skills, right?
And you need to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You can't say you want to be successful. You can't say you want to go far in life. You can't say you want to break stereotypes while being basic. I always say history makers don't wait for things to happen. They make things happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? They put themselves. They go beyond the odds. They say, you know what, this is like this, but I'm gonna do it this way anyways. You know what I'm trying to say? You can't be stuck in that box. That's what the city does to you. It puts you in a box and you're stuck in it. You can't be stuck in the box. When you're stuck in the box, they will literally wrap the box up and you'll be stuck in there for life. You got to be able to, use your nails and get out. That's not a funny joke. Eh? Use your nails. But my jokes are so dry. Okay, it's okay.